supporting this project and really exploring kind of live and on the ground how to link municipal energy plans with integrated regional plans. So Richard and Samira had asked me to come in and provide a little bit of an update on where we're at in the regional planning process. Many of you have already heard about regional planning, but I thought I would do a quick refresher on what regional planning is and talk a little bit about the engagement that we're building into that. And then give you an update on the status of the IRRPs. I'm particularly excited about the engagement. This is a really important thing for the IESO. The recognition that hearing from the community is a vital part of the planning process. And delighted to announce that on Monday we held our first local advisory committee. Jeff has been with us on this journey. So Jeff, we finally launched.
Great.
So let me start then with just, again, a little refresher. Again, I'm looking around at faces I know very well, so I know a lot of you have heard this. But sometimes it's worth repeating what we know. So power system planning, it is all connected. We have the provincial level of planning, regional planning, utility level, distribution level planning. I'm going to focus on the middle piece, but I thought it was really important to look at it all in context. So the provincial planning is the long-term energy plan, as well as bulk transmission planning. The long-term energy plan is driven by the government and sets the policy framework. The regional electricity plan is really the link between the bulk and the local. It's making sure that we can get the electricity on the bulk system into communities, and that communities, regions have enough. And then the distribution company goes from there to get it to homes and businesses. The planning is informed by the long-term energy plan. It's also influenced by and influences official planning process and municipal energy plans. And this year we have every utility developing a CDM plan, a conservation and demand management plan, as part of the new Conservation First framework. That's a framework that starts in 2015 to 2020. It's a 6-year commitment to conservation, which is I think a great thing for customers because it gives some certainty, and for the utilities and supply chain. So all of that goes in. We're focused, and the engagement that I'm going to talk about is focused on the regional electricity plans. But inevitably, we talk about other issues. The feedback I got from the first lap, the local advisory committee, is that we're going to have challenge scoping. People are increasingly engaged in electricity and want to talk about it. So we're pretty pleased to be creating a platform to have those discussions. So that's the setting. Sorry, I just noticed the map had been apt to change. I think it's only the colors that are changing. I did a quick look. Richard's map, which was prettier, is the same one. But we have, as you know, 21 planning regions. As you also know, these regions do not match with anybody's municipal boundaries because they are linked to the electricity shed. So they're based on the transmission system. We divided the regions into 3 buckets. Group 1, which is already underway for regional planning, Group 2, which is just starting, and Group 3, which will start at the end of the year and into next year. We have to go through these regions every 5 years, so we're developing plans at least every 5 years for each region, and more often if there's a need that drives that. So the links, and Richard talked about this, and we've heard this before. We see a big potential link between municipal energy plans and the regional plans. The municipal energy plans have an opportunity to inform the regional plans. They're a great place for a community to identify its priorities, to signal what kind of policies it's going to put in place, and what kind of savings it hopes to drive, or what kind of local generation. And that, a completed plan, can be a nice input into an integrated regional plan. Vice versa, the integrated regional plans can identify for the municipal energy plan what the issues are near, mid, and long term. We are just beginning to figure out how to link in practice the plans in your region. The timing is really nice. We've got 3 York Region municipal energy plans in process, and the York Region IRRP, which is in process. So nice chance to link up. We're hoping that with the Burlington plan, there's some regional planning happening in Bronte. So again, we'll be able to do a finished plan, so we'll be able to pull from that. So community engagement is a really vital part of this regional planning process. The IESO has made a deep commitment to it, and a commitment to making sure we bring the communities to the table and that we hear local priorities as we develop these plans. 2 years ago, we developed a set of recommendations that went to the government, talking about early and sustained engagement, talking about local voice and responsibility. And the government embraced all 18 recommendations, so now we are in the process of living that. And from an institutional perspective, I'm very pleased that we have created a dedicated team at the IESO to manage this process. So, vital part. We've begun to look at the different types of engagement for different steps in the planning process. The regional planning process has 3 major steps: a needs screening, which is done by the transmitter, scoping assessment, which is done by the IESO, and then an integrated regional planning process, which is led by the IESO in collaboration with the utilities and with Hydro One. So in the needs screening, we will be informing the community about what's going on. So that's information piece. In the scoping assessment, information goes out, but we also give communities an opportunity to give feedback on the scoping report, and we'll be communicating to affected municipalities when the scoping report goes up. And then in the IRRP process, it's deeper engagement, the local advisory committees and broader stakeholders. We've established new dedicated engagement pages on our website. So if you go to the website, there is a page for each regional plan. And where we have started doing local advisory committees, we now have an engagement area. So you'll be able to find all of the information there, presentations, updates on meetings. We also, as I mentioned, are creating local advisory committees. We won't create one for every regional plan. We are looking to see where the priority areas are, where decisions have to get made. The goal is to have a committee of between 10 and 18 people from the community. We're looking for diverse perspectives. We're looking at these as a platform for energy conversations. The focus will be on the regional plan, but we are building into every agenda an opportunity to talk more broadly about electricity issues and energy issues. We have, for each of the LACs, as we set them up, we're having a nomination process that's 3 weeks long. We would like people to nominate themselves in that window because it makes it easier for us to organize, but if we don't fill up the LAC in that period, we will keep an open nomination process. We're targeting 2 meetings a year, and then more if it's necessary. What we're expecting the LACs, when we're expecting them to meet, we're expecting a kickoff meeting at the front end of the regional plans to talk about local growth, local needs, local priorities. Then we expect to have a meeting once the IRRP process is into option development, to come back to the LAC to discuss options, and then a final meeting when the IRRP is getting towards recommendations to kind of feedback and get input on the final recommendation. So that at a high level is what we're expecting. And again, depending on each may have different needs. So this is just an example for our Ottawa Local Advisory Committee. We put ads in the newspaper to recruit nominees. We also made a lot of phone calls and reached out to Brent to see if he could tap into his network and others. What we're finding, not surprisingly, is that the personal recruitment approach is the most effective. And then just an example of our form. As I mentioned, we had our first kickoff meeting in Ottawa June 22nd. The meeting went well. As I said, we're lots of discussion, so we knew we would have a challenge scoping these, and we will have a challenge scoping them. But I think that's a success. If people are there and engaged on electricity issues, we have achieved what we wanted to as a first step. We're also doing some other outreach. We're meeting with all municipalities in the regions affected. We're attending conferences. We're writing a paper for OPPI on electricity planning, trying to get out and speaking to local communities. We've made an offer to all councils where there's been an IRRP to come and speak to council. So we're trying to get out with the community. And we will also do other broader engagement. So that was just sort of the refresher on what's planning and what kind of engagement are we doing. Now I wanted to just give you a bit of a sense of where we're at. So we released a bundle of IRRPs in April. So 8 IRRPs were released. Ottawa, Kitchener-Waterloo, York, Windsor, Central Toronto, Brant, and York region. We had also released a North of Dryden's report in January, and this week we released an interim report for Greenstone Marathon up north. So a good first step. These plans were all what we're calling transitional steps. They were started before the new regional planning process was put in place. Because they were transitional, what we've done in these reports is really focused on the near term. So there's very specific recommendations on the next 5 years. On the mid to long term, it's more options and questions. And for the regions where there are mid to long term needs, we are creating local advisory committees so that we can get community input on medium to long term. So the status update. Burlington to Nanticoke. We did a Brant sub-region report, so we'll be doing some outreach on Brant. And there's an IRRP underway for Toronto. And that's where we hope that the Burlington Community Energy Plan can be an input to that. Central Toronto, we will be developing a local advisory committee for the fall. In York region, the process has begun for the local advisory committee. Ads went out seeking nominees. And if it hasn't closed, it's about to. And likely have our first meeting in September. GTA West will be forming a local advisory committee in the fall. KWCG, probably just outreach in 2016. We don't see a need at this point for a local advisory committee. Ottawa, we had our first meeting this week. Windsor, Essex, there will be public meetings in the fall again. No mid to long term needs that require a local advisory committee. Sorry about the GTA East. That process is underway for the Pickering Ajax Whitby area. And then in the Northwest, we are, as I mentioned, we've posted 1 IRRP. We've got 3 more in process: Greenstone Marathon, Thunder Bay, and west of Thunder Bay. And we'll be putting together 3 local advisory committees and 2 dedicated First Nations committees. And the Greenstone Marathon Local Advisory Committee and First Nations have their first meeting on Monday. So we're moving. So that's group 1. As you will recall from my draft map, we have 3 groups. So group 2 is also underway. East Lake Superior, a needs assessment was done and no further needs were identified. So that one is done until 5 years from now unless something happens. The London area is in the midst of the scoping assessment, which is the second step. Peterborough needs assessment, no further action is needed. Then South Georgian Bay, Muskoka, we've identified the need for 2 integrated regional plans. We've broken that region up. A few of these regions we break up because they end up being quite large and with quite different needs. So we're doing one in Parry Sound, Muskoka. Everybody's been fighting to get that local advisory committee and get it off in August. We think we probably need to be there for a week and really get to know the community.
Can I volunteer for that one?
Bring your babies.
Sadly, we are screening for connection to the community. And then we'll be doing an LAC in Barrie in the Still area. And then Sudbury, Algoa needs assessment, no further action. So that's the group 2 group. And then group 3 will be starting needs assessments probably at the end of this year and into 2016. So we'll have a sense on group 3 next year, what kind of needs there are. So just regional planning by the numbers. We have 9 Group 1 IRPs posted, 5 in process. In Group 2, we've got 2 regions in the scoping phase. We're expecting 3 IRPs. That translates into a whole lot of work for my team. 4 LACs to be established for the Group 1 released IRPs and 7 more for Group 1. And then 3 to 4 for Group 2. So looking at somewhere between 14 and 20 LACs going by the end of the year. Yeah. Jeff, we tried to whittle it down. Jeff's advice to us was take it slow, try not to do a ton of them. So we're sort of going slow and we're doing a ton of them. Okay. But with the help of all of you, it will be a successful process. So in summary, engagement is central to our process. The IESO is committed to it. We have learned from the transitional IRPs, and we are enhancing the engagement going forward based on those learnings. Again, key learnings, reaching out to the municipal staff early is really helpful. Well received. Getting the community engagement early is also important to the success of the process. I guess I forgot to mention the working group. So all of the regional planning is done through a working group that is made up of the IESO, the local LDCs, and the transmitter. So we will be more visible in communities going forward. So that's the overview. Happy to answer any questions, engage on it, but it sounds like we have a lot of time next for roundtables.
Yeah, we've got some time for questions. If anyone has any questions for Julia, it's a good opportunity.
What kind of budget have you given you for all of this?
What kind of budget? For the planning process or for the local advisory?
The whole thing.
So I shouldn't actually answer the follow-up question. I don't offhand know what the budget is for the IRP. I can tell you we have a staff of about 15 to 20 planners who are dedicated to the regional planning process. And we have, my team has a staff of 3 for the engagement.
That was the good luck part.
But each
We're
one has,
a mighty group.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, when we have the big orange circle as to where distributed energy could be, is that still applicable? Is there some places in these regional plans where there is not capacity for renewables and distributed generation? That hydro one needs to happen around it.
Yes, I'm going to answer in a second. I just actually do a follow-up to this. Is in addition to our staff, there is LEC staff. So LECs are part of these committees, and the LEC communication teams are also part of this. So it's us plus additional staff. So the numbers are a little better. In terms of connection ability, we produce, it's called a DAT table, the transmission and distribution assessment tables. And they get produced periodically to give an indication of where we have congestion and where we don't. Basically what we've done is microfit can just get on, it's small enough. But for larger projects, for the FIT, for the large renewable, they all get
Behind the meter
assessed.
CHP, things like that.
They get assessed, behind the meter right now is getting treated a little differently, but they get assessed for physical connection issues and economic congestion.
What does economic congestion mean, out of curiosity?
So it's basically you've got an area that already has lots of energy. Often what's happening is there's no way to get the energy out.
Okay.
And so if you throw more in, you're going to have to start turning stuff off. So because of the way we have contracted for resources, you still have to pay for most of it.
Right.
So
It's not really adding value to the grid then,
That's
if that's the case.
And typically what happens is because you'll have a transmission connection that isn't big enough that either can't get electricity out or can't get it in.
Just a quick comment, Julia, and a question as well. I see tremendous amount of work, and about a decade ago, I was involved in the community in reading the energy plans and so on. So it used to be done on as needed basis, on an exception basis. But looking at the volume of work we're talking about, I'm thinking of the planner side of it. You did mention that the plans is a tremendous amount of work because there are 21 areas, and every area has to be looked at. And by rule, they have to be looked at and assessed whether or not they need it, and you have to determine whether it's needed by that time. So the question I have on this is that right now, for example, CDM is factored in, right? And I would say that local generation would be factored in, perhaps, right? What about near-term projects from community energy plants? They'll be factored in as well, I guess, in the
So
planning process.
that's the goal. So yes, right now we factor in what we know. So we'll do a load, working with the utility, we'll do a load forecast for the region, and that's based on projected growth. So they'll look at the places to grow or the official plans to see what the plans are for growth. We look at conservation targets. So right now the input is the utilities conservation plan. Then we drop the load down by that. And then we'd also want to know what's the local generation. So that'll impact, from the IESO's perspective, that impacts the demand, as you know. Where we want to get to is as we have these community energy plans, bring those in so that we can build them into the projections. And I think one of the really valuable things, many valuable things, but one valuable thing about the Quest's primer was it talked about kind of what you need in a community energy plan to be understood by the regional planners. So the regional planners need a fair amount of rigor and evidence. So if you're saying in your community energy plan, we're going to bring demand down by 50%, the regional planning people need to know how. What's your risk on that? Like, are you 95% sure you can bring it down? Or is this an aspirational target and you're only given a 50% chance? And I think the primer did a really nice job talking about that and working through. So that's the idea, is we'll bring in the insights from the community energy plan and bring it to the regional plan. But there needs to be an effective translation.
And I would guess that community energy co-op would put in the community energy plan, so it would go directly to the regional plan.
Yeah, they should be able to feed up. And that's the opportunity we have in York. We've got 3 community energy plans for make up, pretty close to half of the region. We've got an IRRP that's beginning to look at the long-term issues, so it's a really nice timing to make the decision.
Any other questions? No?
Okay.
Thank you so much, Julia.
Back to Rich.